What up, fam? I am Dr. Day Luna, and you are listening to Drop It Like It's Doc podcast. Today, we're going to be talking all about SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. This is something that I see a lot of in my practice and something that a lot of people are very confused about. So I'm going to break it down for you. If you are bloated and gassy and full of farts, listen up. So, are you just a little fart machine? Do you get embarrassed because you were just bloated and look 8 months pregnant and you're not with child? Is that you? So you may have heard of something called SIBO, which is called small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. That's what it stands for. And this is almost something that I feel similarly about in terms of IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. I think IBS is a crock of shit. And I think that SIBO is also just BS. I think that it is something that, yes, okay, maybe it's nice to have a label on something for you. It might be nice to have a label on it for you, but the approach for it is a little bit backwards for me. So let me just walk you through some general physiology of the gut. So your gut is basically the outside world. Your mouth to anus, that is the outside world. And your whole gut is there to say, should I bring this into my blood? Should I introduce this into my body? Or should I let it pass out the poop chute? And if there is an issue anywhere along the way, then symptoms will ensue. So with your gut, motility should be happening in one direction. It should be going down. If there's any issues with motility, and I'm kind of giving away the golden nuggets already, Ashley, but if there's any issues with motility, what's going to happen is that the bacteria that should be in your gut, that's what SIBO is. It's not an infection. It's an overgrowth. It's a relocation of bacteria. So again, it's not this crazy infection. You don't have a disease. There's nothing wrong with you. Pathologically, you don't have a pathology. There's no, crazy infection that's causing these symptoms. What it is that the bacteria that should be in your colon, that's where most of them live, an insane amount of bacteria live in your colon. We want them there. We want a diverse ecosystem. Yes, we do. If some of these buggies from the colon move up into the small intestine, you're going to have symptoms. And that's why it's called SIBO, small intestinal. It's moving up. So this can happen for a number of reasons. And this is why treatments fail, because they don't address any of these reasons. Because honestly, if you go to the doctor, well, I'll say bravo to them that more doctors are even talking about it, testing for it. So it's something that, is more so on the surface of many visits. Whereas before, I feel like people would have to dig to have anyone talk about their gut in general. But if you go to the doctor and you say I'm bloated, I'm uncomfortable, blah, 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 they might say, oh, you have SIBO, let's test you. And to test you, they make you swallow some sugar. For these sugars, they ferment and produce a couple different gases. Based on the gas that they're making, that's how they diagnose you with either, methane or hydrogen or whatever it is, overgrowth of bacteria that is causing symptoms. And as you can imagine, those gases are what are making you bloated and gassy. So if that's the case, and if they say, okay, yeah, you got an overgrowth of bacteria, what's going to happen is that you are going to be given oral antibiotics. And these antibiotics are usually strong, and they're usually, a decent length of a term. And while you're on the antibiotics, you might feel amazing because it's killing the bacteria, because the bacteria are what are causing symptoms. However, if you don't address the root cause, once you're done with the antibiotics, it's just going to come back. So let's talk about what some of these root causes are. So your gut, like I mentioned, it should be moving down. You should be ingesting food, swallowing it, moving down, not up, like heartburn, down, and then you should be pooping. What should they look like? Anyone from the audience, would you like to say? Sausagios. It should look like a solid sausagio. And let me tell you, and I really do mean this, I love when you send me your poop pictures. I do. I'm a sicko. I love it though. It tells me so much about your internal world. So if your poop is coming out in little deer poops, or if it's lumpy bumpy, or if it hurts when it's coming out, or you're just not pooping 2 to 3 times per day, 2 to 3 times per day, honey bunnies, you are constipated. You are constipated. My daughter, if she doesn't poop every day, like I'm on a mission. Like that's the only thing I care about then if she doesn't poop. Like we are loading up on chia pudding. She is getting hydrated. I'm doing little belly exercises for her and she's pooping every day because you should be pooping every day. If you are not, you will get SIBO. I promise you, you will. You just will. And what is going to happen is that if you are very constipated, and this is just one of the root causes, and I'm going to talk about, we'll go into some others. If you are constipated, your colon is literally filled with shit. And there is a connection between the small intestine and the large intestine. It is a sphincter. We've talked about sphincters on here. It's a little circular muscle. Yes, it is. And it's inside of your body. That sphincter will start to get some pressure on it. Sorry, I just looked down and realized I had black beans all over my pants from my daughter. That is not poop. It is black bean. Anyway, if you don't know that this has videos, you should definitely watch the video, just throwing that out there. And then you could see the black beans on my pants from my baby because she's eating fiber and I guarantee she poops more than you, okay? So if you are not pooping, what's gonna happen is that shit is literally going to back up against the sphincter, which should be closed, and it's going to open it. Because with pressure, it's just gonna push that door open. Think of sphincters like doors that should open and close appropriately. So now that door is open, what's gonna happen? Those bacteria are like, oh, you smell that? You smell that undigested carrot? Because this person doesn't chew. She's just eating while she's watching Love is Blind and not chewing at all. So what happens is that the bacteria are like, fuck yeah, there's a beast up there. So they're gonna walk on up. They're gonna walk on up and they're gonna eat your food for you because you didn't digest it. And they're going to ferment that food because bacteria are really good at breaking down food and they're really good at making gas. They're really good at many things, but that is amazing at that. So now you're very bloated every time that you eat because you are feeding these bacteria. And that's truly just from constipation opening the door. However, I kind of alluded to another root cause of this. Maybe you're not digesting your food at all. Maybe truly you're not chewing. And this is one of my favorite things to tell patients that literally has changed my life, is just chewing my food. If you don't chew your food, think about it. Your teeth are this main way of mechanically breaking down your food, especially for someone that eats a lot of raw things, you know, raw fruits, raw veggies. What happens is that if you're not chewing super well, those big food particles are going into your stomach. Your stomach is like a piece of mush. Like it's not able to mechanically, it has acid in there and acid can break down things, but like throw a whole carrot into a bucket of acid. I don't know. It's probably not going to fully break down. So your teeth, if you're not chewing, your stomach's not going to break it down any further. Your pancreas and your bile from your gallbladder are definitely not going to be able to pick up the slack from your mouth. So now you have undigested food in your body. And if you're like, wait, is that me? Do you chew 20 times before you swallow? Because if not, it's you. Do you see undigested food in your poop? If you do, it's you. And corn, I will say, everyone's always like, but what about corn? Corn doesn't digest that well, so you're probably going to see corn. But anything outside of corn, if you see it in your stool, that means that you're not chewing. And if you're not chewing, you're just giving a feast for the bacteria because they can also push that door open. If the door is open just even a little bit, and if they smell that food, they're going to crawl on up there and they're going to get it. So that's something that you need to consider, and truly just so easy is to chew. I think it's easy. It takes practice, right? But once you do it, you don't even have to think about it. Another reason why you may not be digesting your food at all, or why you are having these issues with motility, is that your nervous system might be a fucking wreck. So the episode before this is all about how the nervous system is the root of your hormone issues, your gut issues, your immune system issues, blah, blah, blah. So if you need to listen back, go to it. However, if your nervous system is saying, we're not safe, I have to be on high alert. And that might be because you survive on coffee. That might be because you hate your job. That might be for about a million things that I don't need to list for you because I'm sure that you know why your nervous system doesn't feel safe. If not, therapy could be good for you. Anyway, if your nervous system does not feel safe, your gut is going to basically be offline. And if your gut is offline, it's not going to be moving down. That motility is not going to happen. The way that your digestive system works, it's almost like a wave-like motion that starts from the top and goes down. Like your whole gut is just doing the wave down. And it's that muscular movement that is creating your motility. So if you are someone that has any motility issues, it's just going to create more of an easily fermentable environment. So motility for SIBO is at the top of the list of something that you need to work on. So you could have slowed motility because of your nervous system, but you could also have slow motility because you have hypothyroidism. Please, please, please check your thyroid. Your thyroid is a butterfly organ gland that sits in your throat. It's making thyroid hormone. Thyroid hormone's kind of like the gas pedal for your cells. It is what gets things moving. It's what gets your brain moving. It's what gets your cells moving. It's what upregulates your metabolism. It is of utmost importance, I will say. And so many of your doctors probably only tested TSH, which is a brain hormone, and they never actually tested your thyroid hormone, or they never tested your antibodies at all. And you might have Hashimoto's. Who's to say? Isn't that a funny word? Mindy thinks that's the funniest word. Mindy's my mother. Hashimoto's. She likes to say it's kind of like Quasimodo. It is Hashimoto's. If you have that, you're going to want to be balancing your thyroid, but you're going to want to be working on motility for your gut as well. And there's lots of things that you can do. So if that's an issue, SIBO will ensue. You're probably constipated before SIBO, right? But that's going to happen. Some other things that can contribute to this is like a root cause perspective is, what if you have issues just with your digestive enzymes overall? What if you have low stomach acid? What if you don't have enough bile? What if you have pancreatic insufficiency, meaning that your pancreas isn't making enough enzymes to break down your food? Then you're going to still have those larger fermentable foods, which is why people, when they're on SIBO, they're like, oh, I can only eat these 2 foods because I have to eat low FODMAP. Low FODMAP just means that it's fibers that are less fermentable. Is that a sustainable way to live? Please. No, food is not the problem. And I'm going to say that again. In SIBO, food is not the problem. Of course, the foods will exacerbate symptoms because these fermentable carbs, if you're giving them to bacteria that like to ferment them, of course you're going to get bloated and gassy, right? But it's not the food's fault. Like, please eat lots of fruits and veggies. You know, you might need to wait until you're on the healed phase, but food is not the problem. It's how you're digesting your food. And that comes down to your digestive enzymes, which honestly has a lot to do with your nervous system. And it also has to do with if you're chewing and your nervous system state while you are eating. And if those things are not in check, again, that door between the large intestine and small intestine is going to open up and you're not going to feel well. So I do think that for a SIBO protocol to be effective, you of course need to use antimicrobials because you have to control the army, because things can get crazy in there. You can get incredible overgrowth, and it really is like a battlefield in there. If you have an overgrowth of one species of bacteria, then the others they have nowhere to grow. They have nothing to eat. So there will be an imbalance that you do need to work on. And whether you choose to go the pharmaceutical route with antibiotics, or if you want to go the more natural route, there are so many nutraceuticals and so many plant-based compounds that are incredible to target microbes. Different berberines, mastic gum. I could list so many for you, but again, I would work with someone that could kind of, work on that with you and help guide you, because something I see a lot of is people that are just drowning in oregano oil, that are just taking an unbelievable amount of antimicrobials. And first of all, that's not good for you. Second of all, that's not sustainable. You can't be taking oregano oil every day and eating 2 foods because that's all your body can tolerate. And I'm not trying to downplay that you might not feel well, and that's why you're doing that, and that's how you find balance. But I am here to tell you that the reason why you're feeling that way, and the reason why you can only tolerate these 2 foods, is because you didn't work on the root, which is your nervous system, your thyroid, your motility. And, I would also throw out just underlying microbial imbalances as well. Because what if you're someone that gets like chronic UTIs and then you take antibiotics? Literally, I have some patients who's like, yeah, my doctor told me to just take an antibiotic every time I have sex because I get UTIs really easily. What? That's fucking insane. So if that is you, and if you've taken a fair share of antibiotics, your gut is probably imbalanced at baseline, right? So you do want to work on the microbial environment, the actual bugs in there, knocking down the ones that are overgrowing, replacing the ones that are underfed, but you have to work on motility. So what's one of the best things that you could do for motility? Regulating your nervous system. And that can be just through mindfulness practices. That can be through vagal nerve exercises, which everyone loves this. You can hum, you could sing, you could gargle, you can gag, you can splash your face in cold water. All these things can regulate your nervous system. So perhaps you just start with what is the mental state that you're in when you're sitting down to eat. Because if you're sitting down to eat and you're looking at like this beautiful plate of food in front of you and you're like, oh no, I don't know if I can eat that because I'm gonna get bloated and I have like a date later and like I don't want to be all farty, like whatever it is, you're already not going to digest your food because you're setting the tone for your nervous system to not feel safe. So when you sit down, take 3 deep breaths, look at your food, find gratitude for it, and feel yourself salivate. Because if you're not salivating, your stomach is not producing adequate acid, your gallbladder and is not going to be releasing bile, your pancreas isn't going to be releasing all those enzymes. So I can already promise you that you're not going to feel well after you eat that meal. You're going to feel heavy, you're not going to digest it well, and your poop's going to probably look weird. So you sit down, you get in the mindful state, and then when you're eating, you are chewing 20 to 30 times before you swallow. And you might be like, I don't have time for that. You do. Is your job more important than you eating? I hope that it's obvious that it's not even close to as important as you nourishing yourself. And if for you, you're like, no, I don't have time. Honestly, that's on you. Like, you have to make time. You have to make time for you. You have to make time for your body to feel safe. So a lot of it's the mentality of how you're digesting and absorbing your food. Also, it's just the motility and your organ function overall. And I will say that if you have, thyroid issues, that could be part of it. And now that I'm even speaking to the world of hormones, I do feel the need to say that for those of you that menstruate, progesterone, which you make when you ovulate, it slows down your gut. So you're just in general around that time of the month, just going to feel like more bloaty overall, and you're going to want to support yourself even more. So if you're someone that tends towards constipation, you probably want to give yourself just some love in the luteal phase so that you're not feeding into that underlying terrain that could be causing it. But that word, the word terrain, that is what you need to work on. You need to work on your underlying environment for your gut, because you can't just keep taking antibiotics over and over again. Of course you're frustrated. But, I was going to say it's not your doctor's fault, but it is your doctor's fault. It's your doctor's fault for not educating you on these things. But I am, because I love you. And I see this all the time. And as someone that literally would have to time when I would teach yoga around my meals because I was so bloated and uncomfortable all the time, I've been there. So I get it. And for me, it was because I never chewed. I was always stressed. I have never been constipated. I don't know if you care that much about me, but I haven't. So it wasn't those things, but stress can do wonders on the gut and the body. So I love talking about the gut. I'm going to have a lot more content on this in general. So if you have SIBO, or if you have any questions about it, please leave it in the comments. And I hope that you found something in this episode useful, because truly, I find that the patients that come to me that are, coming back with the same problems, just overall, it's because you didn't get to the root of it. So if any of those things resonated with you, it's because you have not touched on the root. And once you find that balance, your gut is going to heal. You're not even going to have to think about your gut anymore, which is going to be wonderful. Let me also just say that you don't have to be constipated to have SIBO. You could have diarrhea, like any gut issues. But the key there is that you're bloated and uncomfortable, and that you're like, why do I look like I am with child? Okay. If you're not with child, you should not look like you are with child. I hope you learned something fun. Happy pooping, happy chewing, and I'll see you soon.